Hello and welcome to the Monthly Miniature Roundup. This is episode 4 for, what is the month now? Oh yeah, we're in October of 2024 and there is a lot of stuff coming out. First of all, I want to say that this is the third time I'm making this video. My first video was boring as all hell, so I just scrapped the whole thing and was like, I'm gonna record it again. And so the second time I went and recorded it and was like, man, I just nailed that video. However, I forgot to make sure that the microphone was being actually recorded through my device. And I had a wonderful video of me silently just talking away with no audio whatsoever. So, as they say, third time's the charm. Let's try and give it a go. Here we go. As always with this video series, we're going to be starting off by looking at some Corvus Belli releases that are coming up in November. Things that we are getting excited for and maybe looking to pre-order. First of all, we have Domaru Takeshi Neko Oyama. Now, this is a named character for the JSA. And he had a previous model, but it's a very, very old sculpt now. Since that sculpt of the original Neko Oyama, there have been resculpts of the Domaru, which is basically the unit that he's a part of. And they all now tower over him because of the height that has been increasing in Corvus Belli Infinity models. And so he's always like this special character that was dwarfed by all of the others around him. So he did need a new model to put him in line with all of the other Domaru. However, although the model looks very, very cool, it is kind of a nice pose. It's not the pose we want, I think. I believe that really Oyama is this one he's this samurai warrior who just charges in with, I mean, let's look at his skills. He's got Berserk. He's got Berserk +3. He's got close combat attack shock. He's got courage. He's got frenzy. You know, he's got martial arts level 3. This guy should be charging like, swords, both swords drawn, just charging in, like a lot of the other Domaru models already have. And I think it would have looked really cinematic to have this unit of, like maybe a Harris of Domaru, all kind of charging forward with their swords, with him at their head. However, alas, we've kind of got this more kind of tactical look out over the battlefield kind of pose, which I think works very well for characters like Sun Tzu, but this guy should have been a lot more dynamic. That's my 2 cents on the sculpt of this model. Otherwise, it is a nice sculpt, but the price at $25 for one model is, you know, it's a little expensive. We also have another named character getting a resculpt, and that is Hussein Al-Jabel for the Haq Islam, or more specifically, the Assassin Baram. And he is a Assassin Fidei, so he looks very similar to other Assassin Fidei. The clothing is a little bit different, but nothing too outlandish. The cloak is probably what's different to other models for the Fideis. And the model's pose is alright. The model's okay. I'm not sure if I like the clothing so much, as it's very bland, I guess, is what I want to say, like certainly around the chest and things. I kind of like the old sculpt, and I liked the pose of the old sculpt. So I've got the old sculpt, so I'm going to just be sticking with the old sculpt. I really don't need a new sculpt of Hussein Al-Jabel. But for those who do want it, yeah, it's a nice model, and he's really good on the battlefield. I really love fielding him. He's a lot of fun. Fideis are fun days for me. They never seem to work, but I enjoy fielding them a lot. They don't work for me anyway. I roll really poorly with them for some reason. Anywho, one model that I am actually really interested in picking up is going to be the Raven Eye Officer. I do like the sculpt. I like the helmet. I love the wires coming out the back there. For Torchlight Brigade as well, I think it'd be a really, really useful model to include in some lists. A lot of Torchlight Brigade are a lot of elites, so you generally have a smaller order count. The fact that you can run a Raven Eye Lieutenant with +1 order, and he's very, very cheap, is really, really useful, because the fact that you also have a lot of NCO troops in Torchlight Brigade, that means that they can make use of his lieutenant orders, which I think is great. I think it's very, very useful. And the Hollow Mask will help his survivability a little bit more as well. So yeah, this is a model I'm pretty tempted to just try and pick up, to be honest. Then we've got the Yu Qing White Banner Expansion Pack Alpha. This is a repack of models for the White Banner sectorial for Yu Qing. And we've got the Yimao Hacker, Hyundun with heavy rocket launcher, and Haktao Hacker as well. I probably murdered and butchered all of the pronunciations of those, but I'm only really good at the Japanese and not any other kind of languages other than English, kind of. But yeah, the Haktao Hacker is probably one of my favorites in that sculpt range there. I remember when I first got into Infinity and the Haktao was out, I really was drawn to that model. I never actually picked it up myself. I don't collect White Banner. I'm a Imperial Service player. So it's a nice pack though. If you don't already have those for your White Banner, I think it's a pretty cool set. The set that would probably interest me more is the Combined Army Expansion Pack Beta, which has basically 3 Shasvasti models in it. We've got a Malignus Hacker carrying a submachine gun, which is an alternative to the one that I have, which is from the army set that came out, which has, I think, the boarding shotgun. And then there's a Shrouded with a boarding shotgun versus the combi rifle that I already have. But what's also good about this model is he's carrying a Dazer, and you see him pulling out the Dazer. And I quite like running the Dazer sometimes, especially for games where the Shasvasti are up against enemies in a territory control game. You can basically put your Shrouded right upfield, knock down the Dazer, and you just slow a lot of other people down. And it's quite useful for like just slowing that advance into those territories so you can start scoring points early. I quite like that model. It's pretty cool. And then you got the Seed Soldier. Seed Soldier is the one I really don't need because I've already got 3 from Defiance. And yeah, I'm not going to really need him at all. So if I can find the individual Malignus and Shrouded, I'll probably try and pick them up as individual models when I feel like it, if I can still find them. If not, then in the future I might pick up this set and just have 4 Seed Soldiers. Not that I'm ever going to field that many. But yeah, otherwise we've got the N5 Infinity book releasing. It's not going to have rules in it. They've stated very clearly that all rules are going to be digital from here on forward because it allows them to update and make changes to it digitally, so you can always get hold of the newest rules and you don't have to lug around a book with all of the rules in there as well. But this is going to be like a lore book, and there's going to be a lot of lore in there, a lot of information about Infinity, about a lot of the changes that are happening in the universe of Infinity. I think that's going to be really, really exciting to read about. So I think it's going to be a very cool book. It's almost 300 pages is my understanding. And it has painting guides and things as well inside there. So I think it's going to be a really, really cool book to check out. It's always trouble for me to pick up books being in Japan. The shipping for heavy items like books is always really, really a sticky point for me. So, but if I can get a hold of it, I'll probably get a hold of it in the future. But it looks really cool and I would love to read through it. I think it's going to be great. Now, along with that book and along with Sandtrap being released, which we talked about last month, they've also released the exclusive miniature that's going to come in the bundle set that if you buy Sandtrap plus the N5 lore book, you'll get this miniature for free. And that is the Corsairs of the Gate. Really cool model, looks great, lovely space pirate theme, kind of noble space pirate. My understanding is it's based on an anime. I don't know what anime, I haven't even looked up or tried to look it up, so sorry if you're into anime and I'm just like raining on your parade. I live in Japan, I've been living in Japan for a very long time, and anime really doesn't do it for me that much. There's a few animes that I'll watch a little bit of and my wife will watch, but it's not my big thing. So I'm sorry, I don't know what anime this guy was kind of inspired from. But the model itself, really, really cool. Love this kind of space pirate theme that they've got going for him. And maybe it's a sign of things to come for Capokalki, maybe. That'll be kind of exciting as well for Hak Islam. Yeah, but just great model. Really, really super. Love the pose. Then we've got another exclusive miniature that comes with Sand Trap. So Sand Trap has 14 models, 7 for the Pano, 7 for the JSA. And then there's this one exclusive miniature that's added on as well, which is the Yamabushi. And the Yamabushi looks fantastic. I absolutely love the pose. This monk, wandering monk look with the tactical bow sitting on top of the wall. Lovely pose. Looks like it would absolutely be wonderful to paint, almost like a display miniature. I think that's going to be really, really cool. And that is a big draw for me for picking up a Sand Trap. So I may make the order. Right now, with all of these lovely releases, there's a lot of questions of like, okay, well, what can I actually buy right now? And which do I really want to get? And there's a lot of course, I really want to get a lot of the new JSA models that are in Sand Trap. And this Yamabushi is really, really cool as well. So it's definitely very, very tempting at the moment. But yeah, lovely model. Absolutely love it. It's probably my favorite now out of the whole Sand Trap set. Really cool. And he can play for both JSA and for Pan-O. Then we've got the Black Legion officers for Warcrow. So we finished with Infinity. We're now moving into Warcrow. And we've got some interesting characters this time. So last month we had reports of the units that are being released for the Hegemony and the Northern Tribes. Now we've got some special character packs for both the Northern Tribes and for Hegemony. And here for Hegemony, we have this pack with 2 models. One of them is a named character called Nadezhda Lazard, which are, again, murdering the names, also known as Nadia. And she's going to be this super swordswoman. So I imagine she's going to be quite strong actually running by herself, but I'm sure there'll be some interesting buffs that she can give to units. I'm actually kind of more interested in the Corporal, as the Corporal looks like he's definitely someone that you want to put into a unit. And what he can do is he's going to be bringing a lot more command tokens to Hegemony to try and give you the advantage as well, the tactical advantage of getting initiative in the early parts of the game, plus also give you more opportunities to spend your command tokens. And he's able to reduce stress of allies as well, but also he's going to be increasing the offensive and defensive capacities of your allies or infantry unit you join. So whether or not that's just buffs for attacking and defense, or it's something else, I'm very interested in seeing the character cards to see what it says. However, saying all of this, this pack for 2 models, and they're kind of skinny models, is $35.99, $36. It's getting a bit pricey, especially for me with Japanese yen. It gets pretty pricey. So it's my one worry right now for Warcrow is a lot of the models that are coming out are kind of expensive. And as a brand new war game, it's kind of hard to make that sell to players. Infinity's been around for a long time. It's got a loyal fan base, and you know you're going to get use out of your miniatures with games with people. Here, Warcrow hasn't been established yet, and in some respects is looking a little bit pricier than Infinity. Models are beautiful. I love every sculpt. They look amazing. And the Siocast is getting better. There are sometimes a few problems, but it seems to me like they're getting better at creating these Siocast models, and I have absolutely adored painting these lovely fantasy miniatures. The price is putting a lot of people on the fence waiting to see what happens with Warcrow. I have every hope that it's going to be really, really successful, but even for me, I have to start thinking about what am I actually going to spend money on with this game. Initially, I was like, I'm all in for Warcrow, I'm loving it, and I am still kind of all in for Warcrow, but my wallet's saying, hold on a minute, just hold on. Do you want Sand Trap or do you want some Warcrow? I'm going to have to make a very hard decision on that in the very near future as to what things I'm going to be getting in for now. But Interesting little pack. Really love the poses. I think they have really cool models. Then, of course, we have the Northern Tribes equivalent of this with the named character Lotta, who's got this kind of twin-bladed punch blade, which I think she uses for disarming her opponents as she actually puts the imposed state on enemies. And she can increase the charge distance of units. Again, we don't actually know much about the stats and things like that. So whether or not this is a command ability, whether or not this is something that is in a radius for her, or whether it's a buff that she puts onto a unit when she joins, or a combination of those things. I'm very interested to see what Lotta brings to the Northern Tribes for making a more mobile attack force, which is going to be awesome. Then there's also the Prime Warrior with a great big whip, who also is very good, I think, for probably adding to units, and he's going to be also increasing the conquest value of the allied units that have inflicted combat damage. So when you're doing damage to the enemy, you're also increasing your conquest, which is very useful for the Northern Tribes because they're crap at taking conquest tokens from the enemy, especially from hegemony, and so you're forced to try and push people off. This is going to give you an alternative way to actually claim a token. So making that last turn charge before a round ends, doing some damage and claiming the token in your favor is going to be a nice clutch maneuver to maybe score a victory point in the end of that round. So very, very useful in my mind's eye, thinking about what this possibility could bring. Again, we don't know the stat cards yet and stuff, so I'm interested to see those as they come. But $42 is expensive. Then we've got actually some really special characters for both armies, and for the hegemony we've got Mahel the Refused. I don't know how I'm supposed to pronounce that name, but that's my best guess. And this guy is a kind of like a combat mage. So he creates a spectral sword and he just cuts through the enemy using magical damage and things. That's all we really know about him. He seems like a big mean MF, and I really, really love the sculpt of this model. It looks amazing. I love the sweeping spectral sword in front of him, creating all this energy that's flying around him. Absolutely amazing. Love how he's wearing his coat and how he just doesn't give a fill in the blank. And yeah, he's awesome. Really love him. What I do not love is the price point of $30 for one model. I'm going to keep on talking about this because as much as these models are absolutely beautiful and absolutely fantastic, the price does make me hesitate. We've also got the Dark Master for the Northern Tribes, which is this wonderful ninja-like orc who's like emerging from black smoke. Really love this model. I'll probably, if I get this model, I'll probably paint up the smoke to be a little bit more tinged purple. I think that would be really, really cool. Very cool model. Lovely model. $32. But I am so tempted to pick up at least these two special characters because I think they look absolutely awesome. The officers I might have to think about, but I do want to pick up these two. They'll be very, very cool. Now, that's all the stuff releasing from Corvus Belli, so that bit's over. All right. A lot of people who are playing a lot of GW games are getting a little bit tired of the prices and the sizes of the armies that you need to buy and all the books that you keep on having to buy, and the idea that a game has completely free rules is quite attractive. And so it looks like I'm going to be running some demos in the near future. I was going to be hoping to run some demos this month, but it's probably good that I'm not, because otherwise I'll be teaching people N4 for 1 month, and then the next month we're switching into N5. So holding on for N5 is going to be good for that. But I'm also interested in perhaps doing some videos at these event-like places to see the people that are actually playing games here in Osaka. If you're interested in the wargaming scene in Japan, it might be kind of interesting to do like a little video series on all of the different options and all the different things that we have in Japan for miniature painting and miniature gaming. Certainly in the Kansai area. So yeah, that's Operation Sandpoint. And then, and 5, of course, super excited. But I'm also branching out. I'm going to be trying out some new games. I'm going to get into some new things. I talked about Turnip 28 last month. Well, I went and jumped in and bought some Perry's miniatures, or Perry miniatures, which are like super cheap for the amount that you get. So I'm really happy to just cut them into pieces, make them all into weird shapes, and create these lovely turnip armies that I'm looking forward to making. So I bought 3 boxes of Perry miniatures, and basically from the War of the Roses region. So I get some late medieval period foot knights and things, and we start to get like rifles of some kind of gunpowder type weapons. So I can make crossbows, I can make gunpowder, I can make spearmen, all those different types of things. So I can kind of cover the full gamut of types of models that you need for Turnip 28. So I'm really excited to start building up some of those armies and having a good giggle making some really crazy stuff. A couple of the cults that I'm interested in making for Turnip 28 are going to be primarily the Greed. I think they're really, really cool, where they can eat one another to get buffs, and the toadies hack off their own limbs to feed the regiments so that they can take on the mutations of their toady as well. So lots of mutated parts that we can add to the models, really some macabre, funny stuff going on. I really want to make this pot-bellied this pot-bellied toady who's growing loads of extra limbs, and one limb is hacking off another limb and throwing it over to the other regiment to eat those things, and he's just kind of like feeding the army with himself as he grows more bits out of him. I think it would be wonderfully weird and crazy to do something like that. So I probably will be making some videos on how I make these models and how I try and do my first forays into sculpting and kit bashing. I think Turnip 28 is a great place to be doing that, and then hopefully one day eventually we're going to be starting to play some games of that as well. So now let's jump into our Discord painting. Some of the guys who are on my Discord who share a lot of the painting that they get up to, they've been sharing it, and it's really, really nice to see. So we've got Hey It's Bren, who's been doing some Infinity models. He's been working on his 012 models here, and they are looking absolutely gorgeous with these wonderful blues, these wonderful golds, kind of NMM golds that he's got going on, and everything defined so nicely and standing out so well. Really love them, and I always love his bases as well. They always look so good, and the fact that he photographs them on these Infinity sets that he has, really nice work. Love it. And then he's also created this nice drop ship as well to be used as a terrain piece, and that's looking lovely as well. Then we've got Starbuck Viper, and they've been painting some more Skaven for us, and again, I think every model that I see of Starbucks is getting better and better, and it's really, really good to see his progressive skills growing through doing a lot of painting in a short period of time. He's also stepped into doing some Chaos models as well. He's got, I believe, Archeon the Everchosen, and I really love how these purples go from these cold, dark purples to these light, warm purples, and the transition is very, very smooth, looks lovely across the model, and some really lovely popping colors as well. He did that as well for a Chaos Warrior, looks lovely. And then finally he also did a dwarf. I'm not sure which dwarf this is. I'm not sure if it's like Grimnir or something like that, but it's definitely an old world model. And again, some lovely popping colors coming out from that one as well. So thanks very much, Starbuck. We also have the Bull GM, who has his own stream, and he pops into our stream from time to time as well. Lovely guy to have in the chat, very, very friendly, very, very nice fella. And he's done this lovely pirate, this ghost pirate that reminds me a lot of a slimmed down LeChuck from Monkey Island. And I think it absolutely looks lovely, and I love the base that is done. The water ripples look absolutely amazing. But yeah, this certain pirate looks like he's coming up from the coral reefs with all of the color involved in this model. A lot of people don't like painting with like really vibrant colors. I love that Bull GM is happy to really go very, very bright with a lot of his work. Really good to check out. Then we've got White Wolf 131, who's been painting up his Age of Sigmar models, and he's got this lovely dragon for the Stormcast Eternals. I love how the red, the really, really strong tones of red contrast with the green of the cloak of the rider as well. Really lovely piece. Well done. That was a really nice piece of work. So yeah, that was some of the stuff that my Discord has been sharing of late. Now we're going to have a look at some of the work that I've been doing this month. I've been doing a lot of Shadows of Brimstone models, and we've got here, this first model here is of this lovely lady swinging a hammer. I really enjoyed painting the energy sweep that's coming from the hammer. I love the pose and how she's swinging it. It's really, really cool. The dress came out really nicely, I think, and I was actually really happy with how the hair came out. Hair has always been a bit of an issue for me, but I feel like I'm starting to really get the hang of highlighting like black hair with these shines in there without it looking like it's just grey hair. So pretty happy with that model. We also got this nice little robot guy. This one I used as a bit of an experiment for doing lots of different NMM, as the lore for this character is that he walks around the wasteland picking up pieces of metal and just attaching them to himself and replacing parts as he goes. So the idea that he's picked clean lots and lots of different things. I tried to make all of the metals all look slightly different in color, and it allowed me to experiment with doing lots of different NMM concoctions. It was kind of fun. That was good to do. Conversely, the Wardens had a much more simple approach. They had basically an old iron NMM look to them. And then we built up some rust and did the leather, and we also did some OSL with the electricity batons they are carrying, and I was really happy with how the bases came out as well, as there's a nice variety with them. I've actually got a video series of how I've painted these models, so if you want to check that out, you can kind of see the link up the top there or down in the description. 2 more videos will be coming out hopefully soon, covering all of those steps. It's more of a quick tutorial, which I did live in front of a camera, and so you can just kind of see me talking about my approaches and how I did each of these steps, and these specific steps are covered in each of those videos. So yeah, please check that out if you're interested to see how I painted these guys. Then I've got these Crusaders, which I think were kind of, their origin was kind of a bit based on Crusader No Remorse, if anyone knows that old video game. No Remorse and No Regret. These guys look really cool, and I really enjoyed painting them. They were a very, very quick, simple, easy paint job to do, but I think they came out looking clean and good with lovely contrasts. So it was a lot of fun to paint these guys up fairly quickly, and it felt really good to have them done. And I think like their reds and their blacks really contrast well with the very sandy texture of the base that they stand on. Finally, I did something a little bit new, a little bit different, and we were experimenting with oil paints. So these particular aliens, these little facehugger type aliens, were painted exclusively with oil paints. And it was really interesting to mess around with basically a kind of a wet blending techniques, because the paint has such a long curing time. It allows you to move the paint around as you like and kind of set it up how you want, remove it if you need to. It's very, very interesting to approach oil painting for miniatures. It's a very different approach to acrylic painting. So it was a nice experiment. It's still something that is obviously very early days for me for figuring out, but I really liked how you could just mess around with mixing colors and doing all these sorts of things. So yeah, it was kind of an interesting experiment to do. The bases as well, I really enjoyed making. Those ones were made with acrylics, but these are the types of bases that I'm going to be doing for my O12, which I'm hoping as well, when I do that, I'm going to try and make a video on how I make these bases. So if you're interested in making these kind of cool sci-fi bases, I'll be sharing that in a video hopefully in the future. That's basically all that I have from me. Just to finish these videos, I like to give a little YouTube shout out to another channel, and today I'm going to be giving it to Noll, and he's been making these wonderful Shadows of Brimstone playthrough videos that he's been doing these sessions with his friends, and he records it through OBS, I believe, with these lovely displays featuring all the information that you need to follow the game and follow the story that he's telling. One word of warning, it is in Italian, so if you don't speak Italian, don't worry, you can auto-translate what they're saying, and it does a pretty good job of giving you pretty accurate subtitles to follow throughout the video. But it's a really cool concept and an approach that he does with playing the game, and you'll also find that some of my miniatures are also featured in there that I've painted for Noll as well. So he really deserves a lot of views. They're really nicely made sequences that he has in his videos, so please go and check him out, give him some love, and give him a subscribe. Thank you very much. Otherwise, that is all for today. Oh my god, this is the third time I have done this, and I am going crazy. I'm hoping this is the last. I feel like that one went pretty well, so I'll hopefully see you next time. Please remember to give a like. If you're not subscribed and you do want to see more, please remember to subscribe. Check out other videos I have. Really helps my channel out, really helps me out, and I appreciate it. So thank you very much. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.